Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. We are very glad to be part of the Variety Sports Network. And, of course, the show comes to you live from the Frank Walker Law Studio. Cheers, everyone.
Oh.
We have, we have Ben on location in the Sunshine State tonight.
Wait, Sunshine State's Florida.
Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, shit.
You're mixing up your states.
They both have sun. I mean,
Phoenix
not today. This place
No,
is just like
not today?
no. It's like mid 50s and fucking pouring.
well, it's like 12 and blowing like crazy here. That's what she said. In any case, welcome back to the show, everybody. We're in rare form
and
tonight.
blowing
We're
like
not even a
crazy.
minute in.
We already have an HR violation, and we're not even 30 seconds into the show.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get
Wow.
HR on the phone. My phone's ringing. In any case, welcome everyone.
It's HR.
And
Susie.
right. Welcome to everybody that's already in the chat. Looks like Robert's here, and Aaron and Berner and Joe and Cliff is in. It should be a good one tonight. We already had a pretty good agenda. And then someone decided to go and tweet out that the Steelers were interested in Trevor Lawrence. Whether true or not, we're going to talk about it. All kinds of stuff going on. Hope everybody's good. Lawrence Fields, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm back on the wagon, and I have some White Claws.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed how he trailed away because I had some White Claws.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence Berg. What do you got going tonight?
So I just restocked my keg with some Great Lakes Conway's Irish Ale, which is fantastic.
Oh boy,
we
are
in time for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, St. Patty's Day, right around the corner. And Ben, what are you enjoying tonight? High West, was that?
High West bourbon, which is delicious.
Okay.
And a little Modelo.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Well, I've got a little Four Roses bourbon, and eventually I'll be transitioning to a local brewery here, Shorts Brewery here in Michigan. They have a really, really nice extra juicy session hazy India Pale Ale. That's a mouthful right there, but it is very, very good. No, we are not
India
sponsored
Pale
by
Ale.
Garage Beer yet, Aaron. Kelsey Brothers. Is that what they do? I think. I don't know.
Someone.
Yeah.
They're on everything.
Yeah. All right. So look, I'm just going to start with this. We know that every GM makes phone calls. Every GM answers phone calls. They probably talk more about their golf game and how the kids are doing and stuff than they do anything else. So do I have any doubt that phone calls have been made? No, I don't, because they happen. They just do. Okay. Ian, you've had a chance to look over the numbers. Do you think there's anything to the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers may have contacted the Jacksonville Jaguars about the services of one Trevor Lawrence?
I think what you started with was the appropriate place to go, that any GM worth his salt this time of year is going to call every team and ask more or less about every player. Who's available, who's not available, what's the asking price. It's what you should do as a general manager, right? We're a month out from the new league year starting. We've got, teams that are going to be looking to potentially trade guys or cut guys. You want to know who's available, who could be out there, who could be had for what price.
Sure.
So Omar Khan not only should be calling Jacksonville about Trevor Lawrence, he should be calling the Chargers about Justin Herbert. He should be calling the 49ers about Brock Purdy. He should even see what Dallas wants for Dak Prescott, right? You should call everyone and see what the asking price is, so if something comes up. And honestly, if it's like, we're not interested, okay, cool. 2-second conversation, It's over. Who else might be available, right? But we have no quarterback right now. So
that's the key part. Every GM that needs a quarterback, that has no quarterback, should be making those calls. If you still have if you have Patrick Mahomes, you're not calling around looking for quarterbacks.
Right.
And
we have one quarterback under contract who is Skylar Thompson.
Squad player.
Yes. Yeah. So we should be calling around and just seeing, right? It never hurts to ask. And then, hey, if somebody says, oh, yeah, maybe we're willing to part ways with this guy, then maybe the conversation goes farther. But honestly, we talked about this last year with Ayuk and with other guys, and maybe there was a little more smoke to the Ayuk thing. But nevertheless, I mean, GMs call around. They should be calling all 31 other teams. So I'm not going to get super worked up about it.
Scarps, real quick, do you when you were working PR, did they give you a heads up at all if they were going to make such phone calls just in case something got out? I mean, obviously they're not going to tell you everything.
I love the look on Scarpino's face right now.
I'm just curious.
No,
okay.
But I would also say too that it's not like it is now like it was then, because and as Ian said, these conversations, these phone calls happen all the time. It's just now everybody feels a need to report everything they hear from their source. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. The bottom line is it gets a conversation going, and I posted this earlier. It's only been fucking 4 days since the Super Bowl, and I'm already over this offseason. I'm so I'm done with all of this bullshit. And so, Ian's right. Any general manager, especially as Ben said at if you don't have a quarterback, you're doing your due diligence, you're making phone calls,
right?
Any good GM is doing that. But no, to answer your question,
okay,
no, I mean, Kevin wouldn't give us a heads up. I mean, if there was a potential something,
if it was going to happen,
yes,
right?
If there was something, because I'll never forget this. There was whatever draft it was, 2012 or some shit. Adam Schefter reported that the Steelers were about to trade Jonathan Dwyer or some shit like that. And again, this is 12 years ago, and Twitter is not it was Twitter back then. Now it's X.
It was.
But I remember, I saw it. I
back
told
when
my
it
boss.
Was good.
I saw it. I told my boss, and we were all kind of whoa, what the fuck's gonna happen? And I just remember Kevin being what the fuck are you talking about? I don't, I don't know. And again, was that Jonathan Dwyer's agent telling Schefter, hey man, the Steelers are going to take a running back in my, whatever it was. It's all bullshit. And I told this to you guys earlier. I think that whole thing today was bogus. I'm not saying that someone didn't tell Ryan Burr that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I don't think he just randomly made that up. Yeah. But he seemed very adamant, and he sort of doubled down on it. And he was fighting with people all day about it. And he made it seem like they were going to give up the Steelers were going to give up a first and second round pick, or that's what their offer was. And he all day he backtracked on it. It doesn't make any sense. If you look at the situation, doesn't make any sense. Ben, go ahead and talk. I want
to bring Ben in because he
doesn't make sense.
Well, he and Ian talked a little bit about the potential salary stuff with it. So Ben, is there even a possibility that this would be happening?
Oh yeah, there's a possibility. I mean, they could do it. The dude. Look, he has very, very low base salaries for the next 4 years and gigantic roster bonuses. Okay. And they guarantee each roster bonus guarantees the previous year. Okay. So the long and the short of it is this: the 2025 and 2026 are fully guaranteed. He's going to get paid those. And that's $70 million.
Yep.
2027 guarantees in 26. Okay, and you're not going to cut the guy then to pay him $35 million so he can walk. So what they do is they structure these things so that it's punitive to trade the guy away, which is what Russell Wilson's agents did in Denver. They were like, yeah, well, that's fine, but you have this much guaranteed money left if you cut this guy. They made it punitive. And the Broncos cut him even though they owed him a lot of money, but they saved $37 million by cutting him. It's the same kind of deal with Lawrence's contract. The guarantee fully vests in 26 for 27. The 28 guarantee fully vests in 27 for 28. So if you decide you're going to cut that guy in any of those years, you can, but you owe him that money anyway. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. I just, the reason I asked if it's
the
possible,
question I wasn't sure about was right. The Jags guaranteed the money, but I'm not sure if he's traded if the team acquiring him assumes those payments or if the original team still has to make those payments, right? Because Russell Wilson was owed guaranteed money that Denver paid him this year, essentially,
right?
But with like the future years, right? Like Ben said, in 2026, Lawrence has 35 million guaranteed. Yeah. If we traded for him this year,
we take on that contract.
Do we have to pay him that 35 or does Jacksonville have to pay him that 35?
We have to pay him that 35 because we take on the contract.
Right.
Pending negotiations with Jacksonville. So now Jacksonville wants to eat some of that salary as part of the trade. You can do that. Yeah. But I'm not. Listen, I don't think it's going to happen. I should have said that from the jump. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. You could do it if you were sure about that quarterback. You could do it because the rate now is 50 mil.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a guy for 35 and you're sure about him, it works. It works. So it pencils out because you're getting a guy. You're getting a guy at what is that? At 70% of rate. So you're like, well, shit, I'm getting a 30% discount. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna do this deal. But those guys don't come up for trade. This is my point. Those guys don't come up for trade unless somebody's having a fucking fire sale because they overspent so badly. And even then, I just don't see it. It's not baseball. That just doesn't happen in the NFL. Quarterbacks are so rare. It's so difficult to find a starting caliber quarterback that when you have one, you keep him. You do not ever let him get out. And the response from the Jaguars today was, no, not only did the Steelers not call, we would never even consider trading Trevor Lawrence. Fuck no.
Yeah, and no, Ben, you bring up a great point, is that he's already been paid.
Yeah.
He already got a deal. He got a huge deal. And he's one of the top quarterback earners in this league, right?
Yep.
Like he's already been paid.
Right.
And ideally the Steelers draft their next quarterback. And then when that quarterback gets an extension, that quarterback's going to be making the biggest bucks, right? Yeah. The biggest bucks in the league. So I'm not even looking at this from a financial perspective, and I that's probably bad that I say that, right? But if he is, let's just get this right. I have no faith that this team could develop a quarterback, and he has been with Doug Peterson, who has a pretty good track record for developing quarterbacks. I'm not saying
he got fired.
And he got fired. Yeah. I'm not saying he's the QB, guru, but like Doug Peterson isn't bad. I don't have
he's
faith.
Good.
I don't have faith.
I don't know if.
Christ, can I fucking finish my fucking?
I'm sorry.
I'm just
yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
I'll make it quick, but that's what she said. So I don't have faith that we can develop a quarterback, but
and I do want to talk about that too.
Sorry. Okay. So I'll move on. But the biggest thing for me in this was that the report is they were going to give up a 1 and a 2 this year to get Trevor Lawrence. And I look at this as saying, okay, you either make that move now, get your QB of the future that you think you're going to have, and realistically, you're not going to do good this year because you're going to lose your first and second round pick, say goodbye to your stud defensive linemen, say goodbye to your top tier premier players unless they strike gold in third round and beyond.
Yeah.
But then if you don't make this move, okay, so you build the other, you fill your other needs now, and then you try to get your quarterback next year or the year after. I mean, it's a risk reward either way.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at this as like eventually you're going to have to pay a quarterback.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you're going to have to do it. So
eventually you're going to have to pay a quarterback, and eventually you're going to have to trade up to get a quarterback.
yes,
Because the Steelers they always draft in the middle of the fucking round, and it's going to cost you at least a first and a second. To me, and here's what it really comes down to. I'm just not sure about Lawrence. I just don't necessarily think that he's a guy who's a top tier quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's top 10. I'm not sure he's top 15. But if he were a top 10 quarterback, a first and a second would be fair. I would do it because, yes, it would hurt you this year, but long term, you'd be money ahead. Because later on, when you want to trade up from 17 to 10 or 9 or 7, it's going to cost you more than that.
It's going to cost 2 first-round picks. That's what Kansas City traded to move up to get Mahomes. Was 2
It's going to cost you a lot. But to the point in the chat right now about Lawrence having a no trade clause, I think anymore for marquee players, anymore a no trade clause is meaningless. It's meaningless because if the player says no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to report.
Right.
And then the acquiring team is going to nix the trade anyway. Look at what happened with AB. The Steelers had a trade. They were going to trade into Buffalo for a first-round pick. They had a deal. AB said, no, I don't want to play in Buffalo. Fuck that. I'm not going. And so the deal got nixed because he wasn't going to report. And the same thing, if you've got that kind of marquee ability, you can pull that shit. You know?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a role player, you can't. Because they're going to go, yeah, okay.
Right.
Well, you can report or you can not play in the league if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't think a no trade clause, and I'm sorry, this extends to Mike Tomlin, but it does. If you aren't going to show up and cooperate with that trade, it doesn't matter. You don't need a no trade clause. It's pointless. They throw those things now they throw them in as window dressing, but they don't really have any meaning anymore.
No,
it's down on paper.
Yeah,
it's down on paper, but it existed before that.
Ian, you kind of alluded to this right in the opening. You call about Lawrence, you call about Herbert, you call about Dak. This is the feeling I've had really since our season ended, that they're going to try. They know they have to have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And we know the draft is not good this year for quarterbacks. And that doesn't mean that one of them might not turn out to be great. But as it sits here right now, it doesn't look like any of these guys are going to be Super Bowl quarterbacks. So would it surprise you if they were trying to make some sort of, overtures about trying to trade for somebody?
It would not. And 2 quick thoughts. So first, last thought on Lawrence. Jacksonville as an organization has the loosest lips of any team in the league. They're tweeting out, we interviewed this guy for our defensive coordinator position or what. Like they're tweeting out interviews of assistant coaches. They have no secrecy in that organization. So
they have no cool. They have no chill.
Yes, and they have no GM right now. So like, who's actually running the ship?
Good. That's another good point. Yeah.
Nevertheless. They're kind of
Ian said nevertheless, time to drink.
Yeah. There's really 3 paths you can go down to find a quarterback, right?
Yep.
One is the draft and develop path, which we tried with Kenny Pickett, didn't work. But honestly, if you, like Ben said, if you want to find a long-term quarterback, that's your best bet. And you just keep going to that well until you find someone.
Yep.
It took us 20 years from Bradshaw to Roethlisberger.
It was only 20, and then we got it right.
Just 20 of the best years ever.
It took Buffalo even longer from Jim Kelly to Josh Allen. Like,
you know what?
Sometimes
Mike Tomczak would like a word with you fuckers.
Okay.
So would Jim Miller, and so would
Okay.
Jim Miller. He had the starter for 1 quarter.
Right. Yeah.
Path number 3 is basically what the Indianapolis Colts did after Andrew Luck, which was just pick up aging veteran quarterbacks in the last couple of years and see if they work out right. They went through Matt Ryan, they went through Phillip Rivers, they picked up Carson Wentz, who wasn't aging, but nevertheless, like, they traded for Wentz, and so if you want to go that route, that's the Russell Wilson route. That's the Matt Stafford or Derek Carr route. You get guys who are tailing off. You kind of know what you're getting, but how many good years do they actually have left? It's not a long-term solution, but it's a patchwork quilt of year by year. See what happens, right? And then the middle route is to actually try and go out and trade for someone who's been in the league a few years, who's established, has some track record, and might just need a change of scenery. And that's kind of I'll say, Jared Goff for Matt Stafford swap scenario. And that's where you look at guys like a Lawrence or a Herbert, because you're not trading for Mahomes. You're not trading for Josh Allen. You're not trading for Joe Burrow. You're not trading for Lamar Jackson, right? Like, those guys are staying with their teams. So then you got to look at kind of that next tier of quarterbacks and be like, okay, who's available? Unfortunately, they didn't sign Baker Mayfield when he was a free agent a few years ago, because that would have fixed a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
and we all,
I
think, pretty much agreed, except for Scarpino, because he was a huge Mason Rudolph fan. But the three of us agreed that if they had signed Baker Mayfield and brought him in to compete, that he would have won the starting quarterback position that year.
Yes.
Go fucking look at the tape. I'm pretty sure I said bring Baker here.
He's lying.
I think you did.
For those of you at home right now, he's lying his fucking ass off. But he thought that Mason was going to be a Hall of Famer if they just gave him a fair chance.
If Baker Mayfield had played with the Arizona Cardinals rather than the Cleveland Browns, who defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers at home in Pittsburgh in a playoff game, do you think there would have been a better chance of him coming to Pittsburgh?
Reminding me of that.
Yeah. I think there would have. I do.
Don't.
I think people get so caught up with the fact he was a Cleveland Brown.
I think that the Steelers thought that they had the thing dialed. They had a first-round pick in Kenny fucking Pickett, who sucked. They had Mitch
Super Bowl
Trubisky,
champion, Kenny
Super
Pickett.
Bowl champion.
Yeah, handing the ball off 3 times. Fuck off.
Incompletion.
I agree.
So they had a first-round pick. They had Mitch Trubisky, and they had Mason, and they thought they had a pretty good quarterback room. Wrong, and wrong.
Yeah. Well,
actually, I mean, of the 3 of them, I have to admit, I have to give Scarpino props. Of the 3, Mason was the best option. I'm serious.
Yes.
I'm being serious now. I'm not fucking with you. I'm being serious.
No, I know, and I agree.
Of the 3, he really was the best fucking option. That's not to say that he was a good option, but he was the best option given that set of circumstances.
And I do want to get back to something Ryan said, and I'll flip it to him in a minute, but I do want to congratulate a former Steelers backup quarterback who got engaged this week to his fine country music singer fiance.
Jesus,
that's right. Duck Hodges is engaged to Lainey Wilson. So way to go, Duck.
That guy's winning at life.
He is winning in life. Yeah. Well done, young man.
It's actually funny though, because when he went to try to give her the ring, he threw it right to Tre'Davious White.
That was outstanding.
That's the kind of laughter I expect coming from Casey. I just didn't see it coming this early in the show. But
I think
Ryan,
Casey and me might be the same person. I was just saying.
I wondered this.
Go ahead, sorry.
I think that Ryan that writes the letters in is kind of a dick, and that really pretty much exemplifies you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
My question, Ryan, you mentioned this, and I agree with you.
Nobody calls me fucking Ryan.
What is my confidence level that the Steelers could actually develop a quarterback? And it's not high. And I don't mean to say that negatively about Tom Arth, who's the quarterback coach, but I don't really associate the name Tom Arth with development of quarterbacks. And maybe someday I will. But as of right now, I don't. And I agree with you. I don't really have a lot of faith in that.
So I want one final comment about Baker Mayfield. And I was actually surprised the Steelers weren't interested in him, or maybe they were, but they just didn't have enough.
Happy.
Huh?
He's lying. He was happy that they weren't
interested. Is that Baker was sort of like, honestly, he was like a dog at the shelter trying to find a home. He was in Carolina with Sam Darnold. He went. Remember, he went to the Rams for that one game.
But he wasn't a free agent then. He was being traded around, right?
Right.
He was a free agent after the Rams.
No, he got traded to Carolina.
He was traded to Carolina.
Yeah.
But he was at the Rams after Carolina.
Right, and then he was a free agent, and he signed with Tampa. That's when we should have signed him.
Yes, that's what I'm fucking talking about. After he was
okay. I thought you were saying that he was a free agent and signed in Carolina. I apologize.
No, I'm saying he was like a cast off for like all these random teams. Like I thought we would have been interested in him because I mean, shit. I know it's just Twitter, but like, fucking, we should bring Matthew Stafford in, who hasn't had a good goddamn year in years. But anyway, so getting back to your point about development. No, I have no faith that we have a QB fucking guru because okay. Ben Roethlisberger had it. He had it.
Yeah.
He had everything you could imagine. Was he the hardest worker? Was he the hardest studier? No. But that dude just went out and could ball, and it didn't matter who the coach was. Mark Whipple, Ken Wisenhunt, Bruce Arians, Todd Haley, fucking Randy. It didn't matter. Now,
Matt Canada.
I mean, even he threw 20-something touchdowns with Matt Canada. So I don't want to disrespect the current QB coach, but I have no faith that they could bring in Trevor Lawrence or even Justin Fields, who might come back for that matter. And that's if I'm Justin Fields, and I don't think Justin Fields is the long-term answer. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's terrible. I just don't really have high expectations for him. But I would also say this. If you're going to try to succeed with Justin Fields, you need to build an offense around him. And they're not going to do that. They're not. No. They're not going to do that. The Eagles did that with Jalen Hurts. The Baltimore Ravens have done that with Lamar Jackson. And both of those quarterbacks are pretty good. So if I'm Justin Fields, I'm looking somewhere else. So if you're going to trade a first, let's just hypothetically say they trade a first and second for Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
I have zero faith that they're going to somehow make Trevor Lawrence better than he is right now. Because at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin's whole deal is protect the football and let my shitty defense try to win a game, even though it's not going to.
Is it possible they view Lawrence as a Ryan Tannehill? Let's give him the running game and he'll flourish.
What running game?
Well, I agree with you. I'm just saying, is that the plan?
Still, Dad, I'm not being a dick by saying this.
No, I'm just throwing that out there because that's.
But no, that whole give them the running game thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, Ryan Tannehill had been in the league for a long time. They had Derrick Henry at running back. They had a top offensive line unit. They had A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Like, let's not act like there were a bunch of scrubs on that Tennessee Titans offense. There weren't. And A.J. Brown, by the way, A.J. Brown's now a Super Bowl champion, and he is an alpha wide receiver. Like, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
George Pickens wishes he could be A.J. Brown. Like, trade George Pickens to fucking Philadelphia right now for A.J. Brown straight up. Please. They would never do it because they're not stupid. But anyway, the point is, I have no faith in us being able to develop a quarterback, and I have no faith in what we're trying to do on offense. Because Arthur Smith, I've heard he's a very nice guy, and I'm sure he is. We have matching mustaches. I think mine's a little bit better. But the point being,
it's way better.
Is it? No, it's not. He doesn't.
It is.
His
Way
stops
better.
at his lips. This comes down. You know what I'm saying? This is a little.
Nah, his is way
Listen,
better.
easy.
You used to cut yours like Arthur Smith because you wanted to look like him, but
oh, you're
you
a fucking
stopped.
dick tonight, man.
You went down here.
I don't
Ben's
show
been
up
in a hotel
1 week
far too long.
To try and
Don't show up 1
differentiate
week.
yourself from the Arthur Smith mustache.
So long story short,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of faith in this organization, especially the coaching staff.
Okay, retort.
Yes, please do.
Tom Arth and Mike Sullivan, by reputation, are good coaches.
Yeah.
Justin Fields is not a good player. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to fix him. I am sorry. He's a bottom 10 quarterback, probably going to be – he's not going to be Geno Smith. He's not going to figure it out, okay? The dude doesn't have what it takes between the ears. If you could transplant Josh Dobbs' brain into Justin Fields, he'd be a fucking all-pro every year. This is something I mentioned this week in the chat, and he would be. He'd be fantastic, but he's not that smart. He doesn't process things quickly enough, and he doesn't throw the ball with touch because he's back there and he's panicked. No, in the short area, even medium area, he doesn't throw the ball. He throws the ball as hard as he fucking can because he's panicked. In my opinion, he's panicked and he's throwing the ball hard to get it out of his hands as quickly as he possibly can, rather than using arm strength, which is fine, and putting a little bit of touch on the ball. He just rifles it in there. And guys can't get to the ball quickly enough, or they drop it because it's too goddamn hard. A fucking 5-yard out doesn't need to be thrown as hard as you possibly can. Right. You don't do that. You follow what I'm saying, yes?
Yes. Let me just retort your retort. He was 4-2. I think he had 10 touchdowns accounted for and 1 or 2 turnovers. He was doing great.
How many points did the defense give up in those games that he won?
Right. So
an average of 16.
-9.
Well, and that's it. But again, a lot of fans don't look at that. They just look at it and say, well, Fields was 4-2 and he had a good turnover.
Yeah, well, apparently they missed
ratio.
the Dallas and Indianapolis games where he played like dog shit. Well, and they forgot about it.
Right.
And they keep showing that fucking clip from the Broncos game on that play to Pickens that didn't count.
Hey, I am not saying that Fields is not talented. He is ridiculously talented.
But
physically, the guy is amazing.
Yeah.
But he does not have what it takes between the ears to process things quickly enough to be the guy who puts the offense in the right play when he sees the defense and then makes the right decision to get the ball out to the playmaker out in the field. He just isn't that guy.
No, I want to address Aaron brought up real quick Dwayne Haskins, RIP.
Is it some secretary in the front office? No.
You know, I don't think they ever had designs on Dwayne Haskins being the starting quarterback. I think that they brought him in as a young man who had some issues and some talent. Obviously, they wanted to give him an opportunity, and that's what they were doing. That doesn't mean that he might not have started some games or been a starter at some point. I have no idea, but I don't think he was ever intended to be the starting quarterback. That's just my 2 cents on that. Ian, could this fan base handle going 5-12 next year?
Oh,
absolutely.
Here we go.
No.
This is the Ian question.
This was the Ian question that I brought up on Slack. No, they could not.
Well, what does that mean? Because I mean, we see the fan base is already fighting about every little thing as it is now.
Well, they fight about every little thing anyway.
Exactly. So how can it possibly get worse?
Not our very loyal fans in the chat. You guys are all very smart and highly educated football watchers.
Well, some of you are dumb. Aaron's in the chat.
Okay, but I'm talking about general Steelers Twitter here. There was a large contingent of Steelers Twitter that claimed 2018 when we went 9-6-1 and missed the playoffs and AB walked out that was rock bottom. And those of us who had been through, the 6 and
80s.
10 year, the 80s, the 6 and 10 year in 2003, which wasn't
Right.
that long ago.
Yeah,
Although I guess it was before some of those people were born. We've seen stuff, right? We've seen the ups and downs. We know sometimes there's downs. People who have experienced 21 years of non-losing seasons for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This isn't just the Mike Tomlin thing. This is 21 years going back to Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year that we haven't had a losing season. Our streak of non-losing seasons can drink with us on our show now. So,
that's true. No, he's right.
Yeah, it's a good point.
He's right.
So there's plenty of fans that have never experienced a losing season.
Fuck you, Burner.
So they think that 9-6-1 or this year going 10-5 or 10 and whatever it was, 10-7, 10-7 and losing in the first round again is rock bottom. It is not rock bottom.
No, it's not
get
even
a
close.
lot worse. 2003 was really bad. I mean, we had season tickets. I went to those games. It was awful.
A lot of shit went wrong. I mean,
it was just bad.
A lot of things just went sideways. Like they had injury problems. They had poor quarterback play.
Yes,
that was the end of the Tommy Maddox run.
That game against the Rams, where like the Rams just, I mean, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt just torched us at home. It was awful. So could this fan base mentally survive a 5-12 season? I don't know. I mean, they would be calling for Mike Tomlin's head by week 7. And here's the thing, right? If the fan base thinks Mike Tomlin needs fired now when we're going 10-7 and missing the playoffs, there's no way. I mean, you've got lunatics buying billboards with money that they took from people to attend their tailgate. And
it wasn't a 6-game losing streak, Cliff. It was 5 games, and it was fucking horrible. I remember them all.
I think he's
the losing streak was bad. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying you could have in a 5-12 campaign, you could have 2 5-game losing streaks in the same season.
Exactly.
It's that friggin' bad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really bad. And the Steelers, to their credit, Bill Cowher had some bad years in the late 90s to the early 2000s, right? 98, 99, 2000. They turned it around in 2001 and 2, but then 2003 was bad. But the Rooneys stuck with him because they believed in his coach, and he finally got his quarterback and then showed what he was capable of, when he finally got his quarterback. So,
well, he finally got his quarterback, and then the next year he finally drafted his tight end.
Yeah.
Keith. And so you had the quarterback and you had the tight end, and when you needed a third down conversion, you threw it to the tight end who was like, "Oh, we need 3 yards? Well, I'll get 4. We need 5 yards? Well, I'll get 6."
Yeah.
And that to me was the biggest difference at the end. That and Cowher started throwing the ball to set up the run.
Yeah. So to borrow a Ben term, this fan base would be apoplectic if we went.
That's not a Ben term. It's a word that you would usually use.
You use it all the time. This fan base would be apoplectic if we went 5-12.
I agree. I agree.
They'd lose their shit, but they'd live.
Well, you would hope. I mean,
we'd weed out the shitty fans from the real fans.
That's true. Any of the bandwagoners would definitely be gone. I mean,
they'd be like, "Great, don't fucking come back."
Right.
Bye.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah.
You only get one team, and if you're going to be that person who jumps off, see ya.
Yeah. Scarps, if I told you that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go 5-12 for 2 straight years, but they're going to go to the Super Bowl in the 3rd year, would you sign up for that? Or would you sign up for 11-6, maybe a playoff win, a couple years?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer your question, but I want to go back to Justin Fields' real quick.
Oh, please do.
Justin Fields' career completion percentage is 61.1, which is not very good.
What's his yards per attempt?
Hold on a second. One at a time. 61.1 career completion percentage for Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and looked at the highest single season completion percentage out of anyone in the 1960s. And it is Sonny Jurgensen at 62.0.
Wow.
So Justin Fields is completing passes at a lower rate than the highest completion percentage out of any season in the 1960s.
Hey,
but listen, that's perfect for the Steelers because they love talking about shit that happened 50 to 60 years.
Hey, and nobody could throw a behind the back pass quite like Sonny Jurgensen.
So getting back to your question.
Yeah.
Two straight 5-12 seasons.
Yep.
To get to a Super Bowl.
Yep. And I'm not suggesting we win the Super Bowl. We just get there.
Oh no, but ideally, if you go 5-12 2 straight years and you make it to a Super Bowl, that means that the following year you're going to be contending. That means that you've established your team and you have set up a year of runs, explosive runs, if you will. But right? Because if you go 5-12 2 straight years. If you go 5-12 2 straight years, chances are you're going to be picking top 10.
Yep.
And so that means you get 2 top 10 picks back to back. Maybe you go 5-12 2 years in a row. Fucking trade TJ Watt, trade Minka Fitzpatrick, get some more draft capital, build yourself up. You get a quarterback in that span. I think you set yourself up. Now, everybody that keeps talking about the Chiefs didn't need to suck to get Patrick Mahomes. No, they didn't, but they had to trade up and trade away significant. It was Ian. You said 2 first-round picks for Mahomes, essentially.
2 first-round picks, yeah.
2 first-round picks. I don't see the Steelers doing that for a quarterback. So if you're going to suck and you're going to go 5-12 2 straight years, you're going to get some premier players. And then again, I know there. I'm going to say this, but I know there's this whole loyalty thing and whatever, but does TJ Watt want to win or not? And I was talking about this earlier with my buddies. Maybe back in the day, I'd be like, oh, no, fuck that guy. He just wants to chase a ring. But, the NFL career is so short on average that once you get to that second contract, you're on borrowed time pretty much. If you get a third contract, bless your heart. So, if TJ Watt after this year, let's say we suck this year, and TJ Watt was like, listen, guys, no disrespect, but I'm done.
Parallel situation. That's pretty much where Myles Garrett is right now.
Yes. Yeah. I don't blame him.
I'm almost, at the end of my 20s. So I'm going to be 30, not this year, but next. And my trade power, if you will, is evaporating, and this team and this organization sucks my ass. So I'm done. I'm asking for a trade. And today he announced that he's like, you know what, if I need to renegotiate my contract. So basically what he's saying is if I need to give money back to the Browns,
I'll do it to get the fuck out
I will if you will trade me. He's saying I will pay you money back. If that's what I have to do to make it work on the cap so that you can trade me. So it'll be a lower cap hit. He just wants to fuck out.
He does. And are you guys suggesting that TJ Watt maybe
I don't think that Watt wants to do that, but
I don't think he does either, but at the end of the day, you got to ask one question. What do you want more? Do you want to win a Super Bowl or do you want to keep being 9-8?
I think that potentially he should consider it, maybe. I don't know, man. I know he loves Pittsburgh and he wants to stay, and the Steelers want him to stay, so do I expect him to leave? No. I think they're going to give him an extension this offseason, and It's going to be a monster fucking contract.
TJ?
Yeah.
And I tell you
I
what,
hate
we
it.
talked
I
about it
hate
in our
it.
chat, man. Those pass rushers hit that 30-year mark, and it just and that's what scares me. We're gonna soak a ton of money into him, and God love the guy, but I just don't know.
I mean, you know,
business.
there is a way they can insulate themselves from it. Is that you can guarantee a bunch of money, but not pay it out right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure how they're going to figure that out, but I think they're probably going to extend him this offseason.
I think they're going to too, because that's what they do. And I agree with Bertner. I think he is declining a little bit. And I just wouldn't give him this big monster contract.
I think it's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
They're so dumb.
Well,
for that.
Look, they're just the loyalty thing, and I think it goes back to what we've been talking about. They also seem to be under the idea that what's going to happen is, well, we're just going to keep Mike, and we're going to make these subtle changes with a new DB coach and eventually a new inside linebackers coach.
Mike,
we'll find the quarterback, and then it'll all happen. You know, just like it did with Cowher.
Mike is the one who needs to change.
I agree, Ben. He's got to change, just like Bill Cowher finally.
I think that Mike is a good coach, but he needs to change, and he needs to loosen the reins up a little bit. Just give a little bit of slack there.
Yeah, there's got to be give and take.
Stop stifling the creative process.
Right. And I look back at that article again. We talked about it before, but that article from Jerry Dulac about the fact that we put up 44 points. Russ has a huge game, and then all of a sudden, granted, went up in competition level a little bit, but we just completely abandoned throwing the football.
We didn't go up in competition a little bit. We went up in competition level a lot of bits.
We did.
We played the best teams in the fucking league.
But don't you think we helped that too by the fact that we just said, okay, that's not what we want to do here. We're going to run the ball, try to shorten the game, even though
we had horrible game plan.
For sure. And I think the game plan going into those games was terrible. Frankly, it was Marty ball, which we all hated in the 90s and 2000s.
Yep.
It was Marty ball. Play not to lose, which will make you fucking lose. But Mike Tomlin looked at the tools at his disposal and went, well, this is what I have. So,
and again, to Bill Cowher's credit, who was a Marty Schottenheimer disciple,
yep,
he changed.
He did.
Now, was it easy to change when you got your young stud quarterback? Sure, maybe, but you still got to change a little bit. And I don't know that Mike is going to do that. I
don't know either. I don't know. And for those of you listening to the podcast and not watching the show on YouTube, Marty ball is running the ball, controlling the clock, holding the ball for a longer period of time than your opponent does, and playing good defense. That's Marty ball.
Yeah.
So it's a close game, but if you get a 10-point lead, you're winning because the opponent can't come back.
Right.
Unfortunately for Marty ball and any coach who espouses that these days, the rules are set now such that high-powered passing offenses can overcome Marty ball very easily because at any point they can score. And there are a bunch of those in the AFC, so Marty ball doesn't really work. I don't listen. I'm gonna put this out here right now. I mean, I probably know 1/10 about football what Mike Tomlin knows.
Here's a guy that's gonna put it out there.
Put it out there. I'm going to admit fault. Mike Tomlin knows way more about football than I do, and he knows way more about his team than I do. And so maybe he made decisions based upon the fact that that's what he had. And as he puts it, I only have so many bullets in the gun. I only have so much smoke. I only have so much in smoke and mirrors. I can only do so much. And if I run out, I run out. But he made decisions based upon what he thought he had available to him and didn't take any chances. And my objection to that is, dude, you're going to get beat anyway. Take some fucking chances and at least try And if you get beat trying, well, I mean, fuck, you got beat trying. I mean, they were better than you. It's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Right. At least go down swinging and trying and attempting some change. For
the Steelers to end the season the way they did, not trying is the way I would put it, but relying upon a run game that sucked.
Yep.
And Alan Saunders clapped back at me and said, they're not good at anything, and they have to have some identity. And they're not good at anything on offense. They're not good at passing. They're not good at running, and they have to pick something. So they picked running. Well, okay, fine. But, I mean, I don't know. I think that getting a bunch of yards, picking up chunk yards, passing the ball is probably a better strategy than trying to run the ball for 3.7 yards a click and hoping to control the clock, which is what they did.
And
I don't know. Sorry, I should stop.
I think a stat that Ian uncovered, what the Super Bowl champion the last 10 years has ranked now in the top
7
of offense. And that doesn't mean that you don't have a good defense. It just means that you don't spend all your damn money on defense anymore. You can find good defense without having to spend a ton of money on it.
9 of the last 10. 9 of the last 10 Super Bowl champs were in the top 7 in scoring offense.
That's what it was.
Last year's Chiefs were not. They're the only one.
But the flip side of that is this. Teams that go out and sign a bunch of free agents to improve their units typically do not win championships.
No.
And the Steelers have drafted or did draft so poorly between 2018 and 2022. 5 years of pretty unsuccessful drafts that
and those are coming home to roost now.
Yeah, the cupboard is bare, and so their alternative to that is finding free agents that fit and paying them, and trying to trot that out, and that typically doesn't work. It's not something that nets you championships. It never has. I mean, there's some one-offs here and there, but it's just not the thing. I mean, typically that doesn't work, especially long term. So I'm not a proponent of doing that. Oh, well, we'll just put some free agents in here, and here, and it'll fly.
No, I remember the early days of Dan Snyder when he was going out and signing every freaking
that was fucking ridiculous,
and they couldn't win.
Yeah, they were fucking 8-8.
Yeah, you have to build through the draft, and you add, some free agents here and there. To fill those voids, if you will. Ian, we've seen now some pretty damn good teams come through. Obviously Kansas City, but we've seen Philly, and the Niners and the Bucks, obviously with Tom Brady. But what is it that makes a championship team right now in 2025?
Well, I mean, number one thing is having a quarterback is the most important thing. But these teams have all been looking at recent Super Bowl champions. Different strategies have gotten teams there, and we've kind of talked about them throughout the show tonight, right? That Kansas City obviously got there by trading 2 firsts and a 3rd round pick to go up and get a quarterback, because they had Alex Smith, who was fine, right? They had a fine quarterback.
Fine is a good way to put it.
Yes.
Yep.
He was fine, but not great. And they went up and got a great quarterback. And they risked mortgaging their future, right? 2 firsts and a 3rd is a lot to pay. But when you get Patrick Mahomes, it's worth it. So Kansas City got Mahomes. They had a pretty good team around him to start. They've lost some of the assets that were around him. Tyreek Hill is gone. Travis Kelce's a shell of his former self.
Yep.
They had a lot of injuries on defense this year, which kind of caught up with them eventually against Philadelphia. Chris Jones going down in that game was huge. Nevertheless, so Kansas City went the draft the greatest quarterback in the league and go that route, which was what New England did before. But other teams that have been successful, right? Philly has a very well-rounded roster, and there's been a lot of talk and stories about, well, Philly's somehow able to pay everyone. Well, I mentioned on Twitter and in our Slack chat, like, Philly uses a bunch of contracts that have void years on the end of them. So they've got a ton of delayed cap hits that are coming home to roost. And I think the guys from Over the Cap did a analysis of it, and they were like, Philly has like $300 million in void years.
390.
Yeah, in void years.
390 in void year. Yeah, it's eventually come home and hit them.
So let me ask Ian, what does that mean? Is that money that Philadelphia is going to have to pay out? How is that going to affect them?
It's guaranteed money that's essentially already been paid out or will be paid out, but hasn't hit the cap yet. So it will hit the cap at some point in time.
After the player's contract is terminated.
Right.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you can have, let's just say hypothetically, and I'm sorry to cut you off in the middle, and you can finish it.
Let's just say San Francisco did it too. So
yeah, you've got a guy on a 3-year deal with 2 void years after it to try and spread the cap hit out. The 3 years he's done, that contract is over. He's got 2 void years. Now you got to take that cap hit. You can re-sign him at the end of those 3 years if you want, but you still have to take that cap hit at the end.
Right. So a good example here for Philadelphia is Josh Sweat, right? Their edge rusher who played really good in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So they slapped a bunch of void years on the end of his contract to try and spread out his cap hit from his signing bonus. So his contract voids actually next week, February 17th, which means that all those remaining prorated numbers from his signing bonus
means they have to take some of it this year.
It all gets escalated this year. He's got a $16 million dead cap for Josh Sweat, who's not going to, unless they re-sign him, is not going to play for him. But if they re-sign him, they're going to have more dead money, or they're going to have more cap money on top of that $16 million. So it's all in delayed future cap accounting. Yeah. So that is one way to do it, right? San Francisco's done it. Philadelphia's done it. That is one way to stack a roster in the short term. You're able to sign all your guys, sign free agents, sign Saquon Barkley, sign A.J. Brown, sign Devonta Smith, sign Jalen Hurts. You can do that, but it will come home to roost eventually on you. And San Francisco's gone the same route. They've made it to a couple Super Bowls, but now they're going to have to pay a quarterback. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, you know who else has gone the same route? Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland.
They put all kinds of money in void years. And what was they this year? Were they 3 and
they were not good.
14?
Yeah.
Well, and that was why
the other thing I wanted to talk about too was the other route was the Rams route, right? The Les Snead, fuck them picks, trade away all your draft picks for established players and try and build a roster of veterans that can get you to the Super Bowl. Now, we're just talking about the success stories. There's teams that have tried to do this and have failed too. True. Either of these routes is not a guarantee to get you to the Super Bowl. The best way for long-term sustained success, like Ben and Ryan talked about earlier in the show, is to draft and develop your guys. And that's always been the Steelers' philosophy.
Yep.
But as Ben mentioned, they sucked at drafting for like a 4-year span.
5 years.
5-year span, which has kind of gotten us into the situation where we are now.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I asked Scarps a little earlier about, would you rather go through some tough times because you've spent a lot of money to, let's say, get to a Super Bowl or 2?
Oh, that was the other one. You're right. Tampa had 2 winning seasons in a decade, got a ton of good draft picks, and then lucked into Tom Brady and free agency and won a Super Bowl with all that talent around him, but didn't have the quarterback, and then got the quarterback.
And they've been competitive the last couple of years. I mean, they
got another decent quarterback with all that talent.
So I think Steelers fans just seems to. I think we're kind of at this point where we'd almost take that, even though we probably agree that the fan base would probably implode with losing seasons. But
I think to an extent, right? I think Steelers fans would take it for a year, maybe 2, but 2 winning seasons in a decade like Tampa had, we would not take.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that.
2 winning seasons in a decade? Yeah.
Scarps, I know you had some final thoughts on TJ Watt, didn't you?
Yeah, I just, I find it maybe ironic, Alanis Morissette, that if not for TJ Watt, Mike Tomlin would probably have a losing season.
Yeah, I can go along with that.
However, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I sit there and say, why does this fucking guy not do anything in the playoffs? I mean, he had that fumble return for a touchdown against the Chiefs, in which we got smacked. But the point is, like we're so loyal, or whatever you want to call it, to TJ Watt. And I would love for him to be a Steeler for his whole career and win a Super Bowl here. But you know what? We already got a guy that isn't going to win a Super Bowl here, Cam Hayward. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just saying, like
asshole.
How far does loyalty go?
Well, do you guys remember when Bill Belichick traded away Richard Seymour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
got
everybody
a first-round pick out of that deal.
Yeah, everyone was up in arms. Oh this guy's like a Patriot for life. How dare you do this? And Bill Belichick recognized, okay, I don't think Richard is what he used to be, and I'm going to get something for him. And because Bill knew how to play the game. Loyalty did not matter to him. Winning mattered to him. And I don't know.
And if Bill was better at drafting, that would have worked out for him.
Oh, right. Absolutely. I don't want to make him out to be the greatest ever, but I'm sorry.
That was my final point. But I would also say this about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I find this one of the most fucking hilarious things in football. They won a Super Bowl in 2002. Mike Tomlin was on that staff.
Yes, he was.
They didn't win a playoff game until 2020 when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big gap.
Yes, I understand. Yep. I understand that 8 years without a playoff win is, for us, is a lot. But do we want to act like we're some inferior organization? Like the Bucs, the Bucs are famous for a variety of reasons, including 0-14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to try to say that
execution?
The Bucs are a better organization overall than the Steelers? No. Do you want to say the Bucs are a better organization over the past 5-6 years than the Steelers? I'd probably say, yeah. I'd make that argument.
Well,
okay.
Got a Super Bowl, playoffs a couple times. Yeah.
It's an angry.
But that's what I'm getting at is I think, and Burner made a crack about it, but hey, we haven't had losing seasons, and I know everybody that's a fan of the Steelers is tired of that.
I don't think anybody fucking cares.
No, nobody does care.
It's a media point.
Yes, and I think the person that cares the least is Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin doesn't give a shit about that.
No, I don't think he does.
Our fans, of which I count myself among that group, we don't fucking care.
No.
I don't give a shit. Okay, yeah, there are a handful of fans that care. They're like, oh, well, man, no, Tomlin's never had a losing. Oh, fuck. Dude, no one cares.
Here's a guy that's had some drinks.
It's a Thursday night. It's a Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night football talking point that has become anytime there's a game in Pittsburgh, it's well, there's the confluence, everyone. It's the same fucking thing. It's just, they're going to talk about that. They're going to talk about the 6 Super Bowl trophies. And, they're also going to talk about Mike Tomlin not having a losing season. It's going to come up on a broadcast every single time.
I mean, honestly, why do we keep talking about it amongst ourselves? Because nobody gives a fuck. I don't care.
Well, I think that's what we're discussing is the fact
but why are we discussing it?
Because of the point that as you said, there are fans that do seem to think
there are like, okay, I was going to say a handful of douchebags. There are a small minority. Okay, it's probably not a small. It's a large minority of people on Steelers Twitter that talk about it. I get that. And Steelers Facebook is the dumbest place on the fucking planet. So if any of you are listening to this show, I implore you, do not take Steelers Facebook seriously. That is
Don't
a
take
bastion.
Facebook seriously. Period.
That is a
yes,
bastion. Like Steelers Twitter is bad enough. It's pretty bad. But Steelers Facebook is the cradle of fucking idiocy. Just don't. Just fucking don't. Seriously, just don't. Just stay away from it. Anything you see there, don't take it seriously. Be like, yeah, whatever.
You know
I'm
how?
not. And I'm not talking about articles that are posted. I mean the comments, the comments among fans, and the things that people convince each other to believe. That is seriously, that is the absolute pinnacle. That is peak fucking idiocy. Don't do it. Just say no and run away. As Nancy Reagan used to say, just say no and run away.
Yeah.
You know how the cradle of life, was the tigress in the the cradle of life.
Oh, the cradle. I'm sorry, the cradle.
Not fucking Disney
Yes.
movie Lion King. Cradle of life. The Tigris in Euphrates rivers, right?
Oh, yes. I teach that. Yeah.
The cradle of idiocy is at Pittsburgh at the the Monongahela and Allegheny.
That's the Cathedral of
Which
Learning.
joins the Ohio. So fucking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, Ian. The Blitzies are next week. If you're not familiar with the Blitzies are our annual awards show, and these are an award show unlike any other. We will we'll have our usual awards that you would expect after a full season of football, but there are plenty of other wonderful awards that we give out as well. So you will not want to miss the Blitzies coming up next week. What else did we want to talk about tonight? Ian, did we have anything else on the agenda?
Here's a guy who doesn't know how to run a show.
Yeah.
Why are you
He's so
asking
angry.
me? It's cold.
Ian, don't be so
I'm
damn
not
angry.
No.
Well, no, I think we covered the things that we wanted to cover.
Yeah, we I think the other things we had on the list were, this team needs a lot more than just a quarterback, right?
Yes.
We've said a quarterback is what you need to win a Super Bowl, but this team has many more needs, and we'll talk about a lot of those as we get into draft analysis, free agency, all that stuff. There was the Aaron Rodgers stuff, if anybody wants
that's what it was. I knew I was forgetting something.
God, please no.
I can go.
Well, I think there's let me ask this question first, because I haven't had a chance to research this. Is his situation at all similar to Russell Wilson's, where the Jets
his situation is parallel to Brett Favre's, and right now he goes to the next team and texts some reporter a dick pic. That's where this goes next. We've seen this movie. We don't want him on our team.
Well, what do you think?
See my dick pic? No, but what I'm asking is the financial side. Do the Jets pick up a big portion of his 2025 salary?
The Jets are cutting him.
Right, but don't they still owe him some money, though?
Yeah, they owe him the money, but they owe him all that money. The acquiring team owes him zero.
So would it be
$0?
So would it be a similar situation as to what it was with Russell Wilson, where we could
aside
him
from the fact that there's the parallel between he and Brett Favre and the dick pic and the reporter, so you don't want him.
Okay.
I'm not arguing that point. I don't want him either.
From the Packers to the Jets and sucks for 2 years, and then he leaves.
Yes. To be clear,
you don't want him.
I don't want anything to do with him. But let's not forget he has a little bromance with Mike Tomlin. All right. And Mike Tomlin sees his defense as this elite defense that needs a few tweaks, and it'll be fine. And I just need a quarterback. And there's Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
So
47 years old, but yeah, sure, no problem. He'll be great.
No is the answer to your question, Mark, because Wilson had guaranteed money that the Broncos had to pay him this year. Think back to the beginning of the show when Ben talked about Trevor Lawrence's contract, right?
Yeah.
Russ's contract for 2025 became guaranteed in 2024. The Broncos had to pay him that money. They cut him because they couldn't find a trade partner. So no one else had to take on that contract. They cut him, so they still had to pay him the guaranteed money.
Okay.
So
but they cut him before his next guarantee.
Right.
was
26. Correct.
Right. Exactly.
Correct. Aaron Rodgers does not have guaranteed money this year. There's a $35 million option bonus, which the Jets are going to cut him before they have to pay.
Right.
But that option bonus is not guaranteed. So
that's what I was
because
asking.
it's not guaranteed, the Jets don't have to pay him anything. The Jets have to take a big cap hit from prior money they've paid him.
Right.
But Rodgers is not guaranteed any money, so he will be looking for a lot of cash from whatever team signs him. That said, the only way I would be okay with Aaron Rodgers, because I want no part of that whole circus of him just blaming other people and all that, is if Aaron Rodgers comes out and leads us to a 5-12 or 4-13 season, just like he did for the Jets, and we actually wind up in a spot where we could get a quarterback of the future. But
I'll be really happy.
I
if
want
Aaron
no part of
Rodgers
Aaron
goes to
Rodgers.
the Browns. If Aaron Rodgers went to the Browns, I'd be like,
well, yeah, I don't see him coming here. Not only a money thing, but I don't think the Steelers like the idea of him going on Pat McAfee every week and spilling the tea.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any desire for that bullshit.
No. I would rather take a chance on a guy like Drew Lock than I would on Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, honestly, why wouldn't you just take a chance on Mason Rudolph again? You know you're going to suck anyway.
It's the way it's looking.
Well,
yeah. Casey, is Casey on deck?
Yeah, but the guy who reads Casey might have to take a piss. So just
all right. Well,
to Burner's point in the chat right now.
Yeah.
I really, really hope to God that the Browns draft
Shedeur Sanders.
That
would be the funniest thing.
That would make
good, man.
That would make my fucking offseason.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He is going to be a fucking train wreck. And on top of that, you're inviting his whole goddamn family into your organization.
That may be the bigger thing. Daddy's going to dictate where he goes.
It's bringing LeVar Ball.
Exactly. It's the Lonzo Ball
version of that.
Yeah.
Into your family and going, hey.
I want no part of it. No. And as we all know, and we'll get more into it as we get towards the draft prep, but people are going to take quarterbacks higher than they should be taken, and that's just the way it is. Yeah. Before I get to Casey, I just want to say real quick, thanks to Cliff. Cliff has joined us as a draft guru. He's doing a great job. He's already got a article out about Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, and he's got one in the drafts waiting for yours truly to publish it on Arizona State running back Cam Scatabo, who
I like that kid.
He's already got a bit of a cult following in Pittsburgh. He's hard not to like, blue collar type kid, and so he's
do the wide receiver from Arizona next.
How do you say his first name, by the way, Ben?
I don't know.
Okay.
I call him T-Mac.
T-Mac, right. And I that's all I was going to say because I didn't want to mess it up. But so we're just waiting on Casey Kasem, who apparently is in the pisser.
I think he probably had to take a shit.
Well, he could be. I think
he was lying about the fact that he had to take a leak and he's taking a dump.
Well, there has been a precedent on this particular program where he just up and leaves and doesn't return.
There is that.
So I'm hopeful that he doesn't pull like a Frank Drebin and leave the audio on.
When he comes back, we should ask him if he lit a match at least, because that was a considerate thing to do.
Right. It would be. Perhaps he has maybe he has some of that poopery that he sprays before. Yeah. Well, you never know. I'm sure he's thrilled that we're talking about his bowel movements right about now. But
I'd rather have Justin Fields than Aaron Rodgers next year. People are talking about Fields in the chat, so like,
no, I would too.
If these were your options, okay. Yeah. Option 1, Justin Fields. Option 2, Derek Carr. Option 3, Aaron Rodgers. Rank them.
Fields.
Are we trading for Carr or does Carr get cut?
No. Carr's getting cut.
I think so too.
Carr is getting cut. So these are free agents. These are all free agents. Justin Fields, Derek Carr, or Aaron Rodgers.
I hate to admit it.
And hey, all on identical contracts. It's the same contract for all of them.
Identical contracts?
Identical contract. Which one do you want?
I'd go Carr, Fields, Rodgers.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I would go all on identical contracts. I would go Fields, Rodgers, Carr.
You're on drugs. I would go Carr, Fields, Rodgers as well. And I mean, Rodgers would be like my fifth option. I would be like Carr, Fields, and Rodgers. No fucking way. But
followed by Rudolph.
Okay. So can I clarify something now?
Scarpino, did you light a match after you were done?
Here's a guy that's on mute.
Here's a guy that didn't take a shit and he's getting accused of it.
Sure, we believe you, Slugger. You took a long time there.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you this right now, and you could ask my wife. I shit for at least 10 minutes.
That's because you have your phone and you're fucking around on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, I doom scroll, but I also shit. So, like,
so it's a doom shit.
Right.
That was good. That was good.
All right. So here's the thing I'll say as a caveat. Right, you said identical contracts. So Carr and Rodgers are probably going to want like $30 million a year. I would not pay Justin Fields $30 million a year.
Okay, now
if you ask me, Carr at $30 million or Justin Fields at $12 million,
Carr is not going to get $30 million. I think that Rodgers is going to ask for like $35 million a year because he's Rodgers and he's like, "Oh, I'm only coming back for this." Well, I think that Carr is going to play for whatever the hell he plays for because that's where he's at in his career.
Carr also has $10 million guaranteed from the Saints coming this year.
Right. So he can do nothing.
So that's a little more like the Wilson situation.
Carr is a walking injury, though.
That's the problem.
I mean, Fields is at least fairly healthy.
He just sucks.
Well,
Fields is healthy. He just sucks.
Yeah, but even then, I think I'd take him over Carr.
And the question was identical contracts. That's why I put Carr first because
it's a great point, Ian.
If it was Carr at $30 million or Fields at $12 million, I would take Fields at $12 million over Carr at $30.
Yes,
but if it's Carr at $15 million or Fields at $15 million, what are you doing?
Okay, all right. If they're both at 15, then yeah.
No, again, and that's why I said I prefaced the question with if we're all at equal contracts, which quarterback do you want?
Yeah, and that's why I said Carr if they're equal. But
it puts things in perspective. It just says, look, this is the guy you want most, absent of any contract demands. This is the guy you want.
I mean, when is the last time Carr actually had a full season of play?
Dude, Carr is not a great quarterback. He's just better than Justin Fields.
Man, I don't know. I'll take
that
running dynamic all day.
He sees the field better, and
I'm not making any arguments there.
He throws the ball with better touch, better anticipation.
I don't know. We just need to draft the next Ben Roethlisberger. This whole problem.
That's all we need, and it'll be fine.
I mean, it's a piece of cake.
You can order those guys up just like you're ordering a pizza. That's why there are so many great NFL quarterbacks that are available in the world.
There aren't even great pizza toppings.
There are not 32 quality NFL starters in the world.
So
that doesn't exist.
So this is the first season
Fucking burner. Sorry.
So this is the first season since Derek Carr entered the league that he didn't start at least 15 games.
What?
He's always hurt, though, in some respect. But the guy's a tough son of a bitch, so he plays through it.
He's been that
you know what?
available, really?
And you know what? Who else was a tough son of a bitch and it was always hurt? Ben Roethlisberger, just saying.
Well, Ben, excelled through the ice.
I still think Kyle Allen's coming back.
I do too.
I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't either. He's exactly what
he seems.
And I'm not saying that Kyle Allen is good. He's not.
No, but I like the fact that he plays pretty fearless.
Kyle Allen has better numbers in the same number of career starts as Kenny Pickett.
Yeah,
saying,
but I get it.
They have the same.
I know.
Kenny Pickett had,
but
Listen.
Kyle Allen is Duck Hodges on steroids, man.
And I'm okay with that for a third string quarterback, or maybe
I
a second
agree,
string.
yeah, for sure. But you don't want to depend upon that guy.
So, all right, are we going Casey?
Yes. Let's bring
right,
Casey into the conversation. We
Yeah,
are 80 minutes in here, so let's do it.
You know
I
what?
want to be.
Big D.
Jesus Christ.
Big D.
Big Dr. Foyle.
Big Dr. Foyle makes a really good point. Did he go to Pitt?
So speaking of, I would just want to say this. It has been probably almost a year since I had to fight with a picketologist, and it's been wonderful.
A whole year?
But I will say that
I've been trying to encourage them.
People still fight with the picketologist on Twitter, and I just want to say I ran so you could walk. Okay. All right. Casey's Coast to Coast, American Top Party. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week that was February 13th, 1975.
Oh.
Our favorite correspondent, Ryan, is back with us again this week, and he writes, Dear Casey, hold me, Russ. It's hard for me to say I'm sorry. I just want you to know. Hold me now. I really want to tell you I'm sorry. I could never let you go. Casey, that's, of course, hard to say I'm sorry by Chicago. And it's getting clearer by the day that Russ will not be the Steelers starter in 25 or 624. Speaking of Chicago.
Isn't that yes?
Well played.
No, it's Chicago.
Chicago.
Speaking of Chicago, if it was me, I would have traded Mike Tomlin for Peter Cetera in a heartbeat. Speaking of saying sorry, I'm sure you've heard former Steelers linebacker Joey Porter Sr., not to be confused with his son, Joey Porter Nepo Baby Jr., who's only on the team because of his dad. And Peasy had some comments about the fans saying, I'm sorry that we're not sorry, that we're spoiled to a point where 10 games ain't good enough. So Mike has been on the hot seat in their mind, the city's mind, not Mr. Rooney's mind. Mr. Rooney knows exactly what they have in a good coach like Mike Tomlin, but the city do this to him every year. Well, thanks for that, Joey. I know you're being completely objective. It's not like you and Mike have a close relationship. I mean, it's not like he gave you a defensive assistant position and then promoted you because you were qualified. It's not like your sons went to North Catholic together and you and Mike were such assholes at the football games you got kicked out and your sons had to transfer to different schools.
Mike didn't get kicked out.
No, Joey did.
Joey did.
Yeah.
Yes, that happened.
Can Casey finish his letter?
Well, you made it seem like Mike got kicked out.
Casey heard on good authority that Mike Tomlin was equally an asshole at those games.
Authority.
Anyways, it's not like you got arrested the night before the night of the Steelers' playoff win over Miami, the team's second to last playoff victory, and Art Rooney II rip you a new one. Casey, I've never heard Art so pissed off in my life as that morning.
He said bad words.
Also, it's not like your son was drafted here because of your relationship with Mike. No, Joey, you are unbiased and fair. Peasy, you are an all-time Steeler, and were an absolute blast to work with. But when it comes to your opinions, I'd rather take them from Jack Kevorkian.
Wow.
Dr. Death.
Yes.
In your 8 years as a Steeler, you went 7-3 in the postseason. And who could forget you carrying the team to Super Bowl 40? But if your Steelers' tenure started in 2017, you would be 0-5 in the playoffs, and you wouldn't have gotten shot in Denver. Joey, I hold you in high regard. So I'm moving on from your latest comments. Well, Ryan, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars and keep your radio tuned right where it is. And Bad Company should already be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes, they
Up
should.
8 spots to number 31 this week. Here's Bad Company with Moving On.
They shot me in Denver.
Bad Company is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet.
They're not. They're nominated.
The
but
fuck.
I know it. I know it. Yeah. Well, that whole thing is just terrible. Anyway, hey, it's the off season, and we've just given you almost 90 minutes of great Steelers opinion, and
I've heard that before.
Lots of laughs along the way, kids. Anyway, make sure you check out the
Garkino's a
site,
hater.
SteelCityBlitz.com, and thanks again to everybody in the chat. Thank you to DEK Roofing Incorporated, Frank Walker Law, and of course, Variety Sports Network. And we will be right back here next week as we start prepping for some free agency.
Blitz is next week.
And the draft. But yes, next week will be the Blitzies, and you don't want to miss the Blitzies. It's a big night here on the show.
That's fun.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. And as always, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.